Everyone, I'm Yvette Lloyd, host of Life Her podcast. We have an amazing guest with us, Steve Gallegos, and he is a U.S. Marine veteran, award winning speaker, and a transformational storyteller who teaches people how to break free from limiting beliefs and taking control of their lives. Known as the Story Dude, he empowers others and stop living by old scripts and starting directing their lives into their true desires. From convincing the president to help him become the U.S. citizen to inspiring audience and worldwide, Steve brings a bold energy, unforgettable stories, and also real life strategies that can change lives. Hey, Steve, how are you?
I am outstanding, Yvette. And you? How are you in Akron? Beautiful Akron.
I am doing great myself. Thank you for asking.
Yay, yay, yay. Listen, I'm so excited that you would even consider having me on your beautiful show that is so popular and so well produced. But I've got a question for you. I know you're here to interview me, but I got a question for you. I say, you are the first podcast host that I've dealt with over the years that has her own day, Yvette Lloyd Day. Oh my goodness. So my question is, when are we going to make this a federal holiday so we can all celebrate it?
Oh my gosh, I never even thought of that, Steve.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And you know what's so crazy? You're probably one of my first guests that actually dug deep and actually looked into who I am and what I've done and who I was before podcasting. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
You are so welcome, and I'm surprised to hear that not a lot of guests do this because, I mean, you research us, and we should research you too because this is a two-way street, right? It's a conversation, and I think this is how we need to show up in the world, regardless of whether we're being interviewed on a beautiful show like yours or going on a job interview. You know, you've got to interview, you've got to research the company you're going to go work for,
Yes.
and if you're going on a date. You should definitely research the other person you're going to be meeting.
Yes, indeed. You have a point there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, but going federal, I've never thought of it. I don't even know the process of it. I wouldn't know where to begin or nothing. That just came literally out of nowhere. I was very blessed with it and I was thankful for it.
Well, I'm going to beg to differ. It didn't come out of nowhere. It came because you're just a phenomenal human being doing right by the world and right by God. And people recognize that, right? In big or small ways. And it's beautiful when it comes to you unexpected, like you didn't apply for it and you didn't say, "Ooh, I'm going to make sure that I get an Yvette Lloyd Day." It's just, no, you do what you do it to your best, and somebody recognizes that. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is. Thank you for that. You made my day.
Yeah.
So let's get to you, Steve, because you are amazing yourself. So your story is like far from ordinary. A Marine, storyteller, speaker, and even a presidential influence. Can you take us back to the moment when you realized that your life was meant to be rewritten and also lived on your own terms?
Mm. Um, that's a very interesting question, a very important question, and I'm glad you asked it. Uh, the thing is, Yvette, I didn't realize back at the time. I don't even think I realized when it happened that okay, I'm going to rewrite my life, right? Because that takes awareness, it takes intention, it takes conscious bringing forth of the ideas and formulating a plan. All I knew was that at 17 years of age, I find myself coming home from school one day, well, a couple of days actually, going up to my bedroom closet, sitting on the edge of the bed, and taking out the plastic dry cleaner bag that I had hidden in my closet, and wrapping it around my head, trying to extinguish my life because I didn't feel worthy. And this is the programming that I received growing up all through the 17 years prior, that I was good for nothing, that I was worthless, and so. And I know a lot of people feel that way today, right? They feel useless and they feel, what is my purpose? Where is my value in the world? And
Mm.
so, we just get to this point of despair. And it's in those moments that we either wake up to the fact that there might be another opportunity for us, or we never wake up from this bad dream. And a lot of people sadly leave the world much too early because they don't, maybe they didn't receive the message. Maybe they didn't know how to listen or how to feel for that inner voice that told me, no, Steve, there's something better for you on the horizon. So what I did, Yvette, was I ended up taking my life, but running away. I took control of my life, if you will, and I ran away to join the Marine Corps at 17 years old, against my parents' wishes. But once I brought the Marine recruiter home to have my mom sign the paper, there was not very much that she could do because I wanted it, they wanted me, and so that's what it was. And it was in the Marine Corps boot camp, much
Mm.
like you being presented with Yvette Lloyd Day. You didn't seek it, you didn't ask for it, you didn't apply for it, you didn't pay for it, you just did your thing. Well, I ended up doing my thing that I didn't know existed. There happened to be three other recruits in my class that were primarily Spanish speaking. And Spanish was my first language, and it still is. And they were having trouble with the academic portion of Marine Corps training. Most people think as a Marine, all you got to do is learn to shoot and take people out and yay,
Yeah.
you're a Marine. No, there's a lot of intelligence, there's a lot of information, a lot of academics that goes along with it. But they were struggling, and so I took them under my wing. I became their quasi mentor. And at night, when everybody else went to sleep, the four of us would go and sit on the cold, damp, musty shower floors in Paris Island, South Carolina. Right, the heat and the humidity and the bugs and all that stuff. Well, we would sit there, and I would translate our day's training materials from English to Spanish. We would have a discussion until I knew that they captured the material, and that we did that for several weeks. And then one of the nights that we were engaged in this, all of a sudden we're in the middle of our study session, and we hear this screams and yelling and swearing. And it happened to be the drill instructor, the on-duty drill instructor, at about 2:30 in the morning. He comes rushing into the shower because he had heard voices coming from the
Oh,
shower. So I asked you, Yvette, what possibly could voices from a shower at 2:30 in the morning, right, a bunch of 17-year-olds be up to, right? Clearly he
right.
thought, you guys are up to no good, and I'm going to catch you and take you down and get you out of my Marine Corps. Well, he found us sitting there with our notebooks, and after I put my heart back in my chest and stood up and explained what we were doing, he just looked at us in disbelief and said, okay, carry on. Well, fast forward to the end of boot camp training, 13 weeks later, I graduate the honorman, which is the equivalent of valedictorian, and I'm awarded my first rank to private first class. I'm awarded my duty station. I'm awarded the beautiful Marine dress blue uniform, right?
Mhm.
As a reward for what I did, taking my eyes off myself, putting it onto other people and helping them achieve their dreams. And this led me to my first big lesson in the world. It became my philosophy and my driving foundation is that I achieve my dreams, helping others achieve theirs. And that's really what I've done all throughout my life. But again, it came to that moment where I found I am worthy. I'm worth something. I'm valuable. I have skills. I have something to give to the world, right? By giving these guys training and mentoring. Um, I didn't realize it at the time that, ooh, this is the turning point in my life, right? Because I wasn't in that mindset. All I knew is I did good by doing good for others, and I got rewarded as a result, much like you did.
So when you were in that moment in the beginning stages, to just even find yourself end up rewarding other people and helping others, how did that make you feel, and what led you in that path from your parents not agreeing with you going in that destination, but you just creating your own path and creating your mindset? That's like a strong thing to do. I always had that problem with my mom too, but like our outcome becomes amazing, but we find ourselves pouring into other people, and that's what accumulates us to be a lot more successful than we could even imagine. And just hearing other people's stories and everything, it strengthened us.
Right.
So what actually led you into that to make you know that this is your purpose and this is exactly what you wanted to do?
Again, great question. Thank you. At the time, I didn't know, right? It was just, I did this and look at my reward. So at some point you become, like the Pavlov dog, Pavlov's dog, Professor Pavlov, where they would ring the bell and the dogs would begin to salivate because they knew that the bell ringing meant a reward. And
Mm.
so kind of like that, I knew that, ooh, doing good for others, I will be rewarded. And so you just start doing good for others
Yeah.
intentionally, not necessarily to seek a reward, because I didn't look around and say, come on, world, universe, boss, employee, give me a reward for what I just did. No,
Right.
you just go out and do good in the world, and the world brings you goodness. It brings you blessings and it brings you joy. And then, we wake up one day and we look around and we go, wow, look at this beautiful home, my health, the cars, my wife, the life that I have. This is just so amazing. You couldn't have crafted it any better, right? If you did it intentionally, I would have made so many mistakes. And I've noticed that throughout my life, as I've gone through various careers, from the Marine Corps to becoming a police officer, to becoming a board certified trial lawyer, singer songwriter, recording artist, considered for a Grammy Award in the year 2000, published author, published commercial photographer, all of these things. I've noticed along the way that whenever I did things to gain notoriety or gain respect or gain love, complete failure, right? The projects wouldn't work. They would sink. Something would come along and just implode whatever it is I was doing. And so one thing I did learn was that the good that we do in the world, we shouldn't necessarily announce it. We don't go on social media and say, hey, I just fed 3 homeless people today. Woohoo, look at me. It's not what that's about, right? That's not the reward that we're looking for. The reward that we're looking for is when the universe smiles upon us, when God smiles upon us and says, thank you, and here is your reward.
Yeah. That is so true. You kind of like just enlighten me because of due to like different things that I've done. It's like you are like a reflection of me at that moment of you saying that, because it's like sometimes it's different when you hearing it from someone else compared to you actually saying it. And like the reward is so rewarding for you because you've passionately done it and God led you to do it. And sometimes it's hard for people to understand what God is doing for you. Just long as you understand it, you just keep going and doing his work.
Indeed. And you just highlighted a beautiful point. The idea is that we should do for others without expectation.
Yeah.
And this goes so true in relationships. And I know that a lot of your listeners are probably entering new relationships, seeking a relationships, ending relationships, or they're in the middle of a conflicted relationship and don't know what to do. But what you just pointed out, Yvette, is that we should let go. And this takes training. And this is where you should work with someone like Yvette or like me or one of the other beautiful guests that you've had on your show that provides this kind of experience training, is that we have to learn to let go of the need for
Yeah.
others to do things for us,
Mm.
right? Because if I expect my wife, right, expectation, if my expectation is every morning my breakfast is served, every day I come home from work and dinner is served, every day she's in makeup and beautiful clothes and looking like a Hollywood starlet, or if I expect her to make me feel more like a man or more this or that or whatever, there's going to come a time when she's going to forget, she's going to be unable to, she's going to not want to, or whatever other reason is going to interfere with that expectation. Now, all of a sudden, I'm sad and I'm mad and I'm upset, and we have conflict in our relationship. Whereas if I just let her be and I be, and we're both happy and joyful just because, and we just do things for each other just because, like our desks face each other in our home office. And every time I get up, I'll look at her water glass and say, honey, do you need more water? No big deal, no expectation. I'm going to the refrigerator to get more water for me. Let me see if she needs some too. And then you know what? When she gets up, she says, I'm going to go get something to eat, a snack. Would you like something? And all of a sudden, we're just in this world of trying to outdo who can outdo each other, not
Yeah.
for any specific reward, but just for the joy that we get out of seeing my wife's face when I bring her something, right? Or when I smile at her, or when I, whatever. And if more couples did this, you would see the conflicts, the challenges in the relationship really disappear. Not to say that we don't have challenges, we disagree on things, and we have discussions about money or where we're going for dinner or what that person did or said, or those kinds of normal things. But it's certainly my marriage, my current marriage, because of these dynamics, is heaven on earth, and it never used to be before in any relationship.
Yeah. And you know what comes with that by having these high expectations for people, I feel like sometimes people really doesn't know the person the way they should know them. And character means a lot, and actually getting to know a person, it means a lot too. You have to know everything within that person more or less than you seeing the out of them, because some people, you're raised different. God created you to be different, and you can't expect you out of another person, but you can expect knowing who they are, and that's just them, and they like didn't do it intentionally.
Right.
So it's like a difference in that, and it takes a special person to actually just accept a person for who they are and either love them the way they are or go to your separate ways.
Beautiful point. And for your listeners, we can all become that special person.
Yes.
Like Yvette just said, knowing and wanting to know who the other person is. The way we do that is not by asking, who are you? Right? What
Hmm.
are you? What are you looking for? What are you hoping to do? They're important questions, and we can have those in conversation. But the way to learn about the other person, or to have them learn about you, again, is to let go of the expectation and allow them to be themselves. Because when we get into a relationship, in the beginning of the relationship, we have this expectation. I want to appear like this elegant, gallant, well mannered, professional individual, that I have money, that I have status, that I have this, that. So I go to the restaurant and meet my future wife, acting, right? Acting
Yeah.
in this particular way. And then when we when she likes and falls in love with that person, it's not me all the time. Now she's in my house, or I'm in her house, her apartment, whatever, and she sees, the dirty clothes on the floor, and she sees the unmade bed or dishes in the sink, and she starts wondering, where's that elegant, well-mannered, clean, controlled gentleman that I met? Right? And it's that expectation that it's my fault for having set up that false expectation. It could be that I'm well mannered and gentlemanly and all of these things, and I am. But the trick is to allow the other person to be themselves and not put pressure on them to be a certain way, or to act a certain way, to
Yeah.
behave a certain way. Because the sooner that they behave in a way that you don't like, that's wonderful. Because that's the sooner that I do or do not want this kind of relationship, right? But it's in the beginning, we all try to be this perfect person so that the other person will like us. And then we get behind closed doors a couple weeks, a couple months down the road, and we start really being ourselves, dressing in sweats, not taking a shower that day, our hair up, no makeup, and all of a sudden, Mr. Boyfriend over there is disillusioned with, where's the starlet that I've been going out with, or on the other side, her too, right? Where's this canyon man, this beautiful mountain man that all of a sudden is just sitting there watching TV and not wanting to get outdoors and hike like we did when we first met. And so we can do that. We can just be ourselves from the beginning, allow the other person to be themselves. And that is how we can get to the core of the other person much, much faster.
Yes, definitely. So you say you're a rule breaker
Oh, yeah.
in the best way. So what was the moment you bent the rules and convinced the president to help you become a US citizen? And what lesson did and that you teach in that moment about your personal power and possibility?
Oh, what a great question. Um, it was, I've had some, they don't, like you, right? You've had such a beautiful dynamic background and you've done so many wonderful things and been rewarded at various different levels. And then you look back on it and it's different when you hear someone else repeat those things to you, right? Because we don't sit there and dwell in the, oh, I'm so great because I have a day named after me and all of these other things. And it takes for someone to bring it up and say, hey, how'd you do this? And we go, yeah, you know what? That was pretty cool, wasn't it? I was out of the Marine Corps. I was in Santa Barbara, California, having worked as a police officer. And during that time, when I joined the Marine Corps, I was not a US citizen. I was born in Chile, arrived to this country legally, mind you, everyone, legally arrived in this country, legally at the age of 7, along with my parents, my family, brothers. And there was never left the country between the age of 7 and 17 when I joined the Marine Corps. But the Marines said, no problem. As long as you're willing to serve, you don't have a criminal history, you're welcome to join us and become one of the few good men. So, but you'll become a citizen. You'll get your citizenship. In other words, it'll be a pathway to getting your citizenship granted. So I served in the Marine Corps, got out, became a police officer, still not a U.S. citizen, and living in Santa Barbara. And one of those weekends, and it was a very popular thing to do back then, which was we would travel for the weekend to Mexico. We'd go down south, San Diego, cross the border, and spend the weekend in Ensenada or Tijuana, just having fun, going out dancing, restaurants, and it was very, very inexpensive back then. So you who know Mexican food and you have a liking for it, imagine going and having this full course lobster, shrimp, margaritas for $20. Right? Where can you find that these days? And so we would go and do that. Well, on one of those trips coming back across the border, the Border Patrol agent asked me a very specific question. And previous occasions, they would ask, what country are you a resident of? Or are you a resident of the United States? Yes. Here's my ID. Bam, go on your way. This time they asked me, where were you born? And I said, I was born in Chile. And they said, well, let's see your credentials. I showed them my credentials, and it wasn't satisfactory. And I said, wait, I'm a police officer. I'm one of you guys. Fortunately, I didn't have my gun. I might have ended up in jail, but I had left that at home. But they sent me to the secondary inspection station. They questioned me for a number of hours, threatening to send me back to Mexico so that I could deal with it at the embassy the following day. And I said, dude, I got to go to work tomorrow. Please let me through. So they made me pay some money and said, within 2 weeks, you have to report to the immigration service in Oxnard, California, and get this straightened out. I said, yes, sir. On my way, within those 2 weeks, I report to the INS station in Oxnard, got everything taken care of. They stamped a 6-month temporary visa in my Chilean passport, within which time I was assured that my citizenship application that I had filed long before would be processed. Well, 6 months go by, Yvette, nothing. I'm now an illegal alien subject to deportation.
Man.
Look at that. Having served as a Marine, having been a police officer, and now I'm in law school, right? I had quit the police force and I'm in law school at this time. Well, I'm in law school going at night. That was one of the rules that I broke. I got into law school without having an undergraduate degree. in most cases, you need an undergraduate bachelor's degree. I got in based on my military training, my police training, and having passed an exam, right?
Yeah.
So I broke that rule. Second is that I'd quit the police force and I was parking cars during the day. And the parking service that I worked for was hired by the US Secret Service to provide valet parking services for then President Ronald Reagan and his wife Nancy, because the Western White House was in Santa Barbara, north of Santa Barbara, in Santa Ynez. And so that's where they would go spend their summer vacations. So Nancy was celebrating her birthday. They needed valet service and they hired our company. I was one of the ones investigated and chosen by the Secret Service, mind you, not being a citizen, to go and provide valet services. Well, there we are, dressed in cowboy outfits with a bandana and everything. And, we're just minding our own business. And Yvette, there's everybody who's anybody in politics back then. I mean, the Cheneys and Colin Powell. And just the names list is just amazing of the people whose cars we were opening doors for and stuff. During one of the breaks, Secret Service agent comes out and says, the president would like to know if you'd like to have your photo taken with him. I said, heck yes. And they said, follow me back to the house, but do not talk to the president. All right, just stand there. Well, the president comes out and he's all, tall and jovial. He looks like John Wayne, right? And he's just coming out and he's got a big smile on his face and he says, hello, we all shake hands. And while we're waiting for the photographer to set up, he says, do you have any questions for me? And I just, boom, I don't know where it came from. I said, you know what, Mr. President, I have this issue. And I told him, Marine, police officer, have applied for citizenship. I'm now illegal, subject to deportation. I need help. Because I couldn't get any answers from the Immigration Service prior to that. And he said, okay, well, send me a letter. And when I get back to the White House, I'll look into it. I might have thought at that time, yeah, sure,
Yeah, you don't have time.
Mumbo jumbo, you're going to pay. Right. Well, I did, following that event, I wrote a beautiful letter. I've got, all my accommodations together and sent a stack of documents this thick to the White House. And lo and behold, about a month or two later, I get a call at work and they said, hey, phone for you. And I answer the phone and it's a gentleman who announces himself as the Deputy Commissioner of the Immigration Service, number 2 in charge of the Immigration and Service. And he said, President Reagan received your letter, has forwarded to me with instructions that we are supposed to get this processed and handled for you. So don't worry, you're not going to be deported and all these things. And so I said, yay, it was a great moment. And about a month later, I'm being sworn in as America's newest citizen. I'm being featured in the 4th of July parade in Santa Barbara, California. I'm back at this beautiful 56 Chevy with my Marine Corps uniform on, just waving to the crowd. Yay, me. All because I dared to open my mouth to who was then arguably the most powerful man in the world, right? Yeah. The President of the United States. And I asked him for help. Now, did it take courage? Yeah, but I wasn't thinking about it in those terms. I just saw a door opening and I thought, this is a good opportunity. And if more people would take that risk of being denied, right? Because that's the only thing that could happen. Yvette, could I do this? Can I come there? Could I be a part of this? Could I be a part of that? Can I be in your next book? All you can do is say no. Right? Yeah. Yvette, can I be a part of your next book? Definitely. Yvette, can I be a part of your next book? Look, I'm asking on air, ladies and gentlemen.
Definitely.
I see her shaking her head. She says, definitely. Yay, I got a deal. Wonderful. So that's really all we got to do. Don't be afraid of getting that no, because all it is no. And most often it means not now.
Okay, so you boldly say you are not failure, but you are also not a success. What do you mean by that, and why is it such a transformative concept?
Oh, I thank you for asking that. That is probably one of my favorite topics and questions to answer, and foundations for my training, the training that I've offered for years. Many people are either called or consider themselves a failure or a success. In fact, we live in a society where we grow up and say, if you ever want to amount to something, you're never going to be successful until you do this, or unless you do that, or if you don't stop doing this, or, I'm sure I heard it in school, and I know that you heard it too.
All the time.
All the time. You're right. You're such a failure. You bring home B's or C's. You're such a failure. Well, why can't you be more like Johnny or Mary, who's getting A's?
Yes.
But then when you want to go jump off a bridge like Johnny or Mary, they say, why you got to be like Johnny or Mary? It's confusing as a kid, right? So we grow up with this idea that society has ingrained in us that I've got to be successful. And in order for me to be successful, I've got to steal, cheat, whatever, claw, screw someone else over, take advantage of someone else, because I got to be successful. And so we've grown up with this idea that we're chasing success. But let me ask you, Yvette, what is success?
Failing.
I'm sorry?
Failing.
Success is family?
A failing. Like what I've learned when I fail at something, or something doesn't work out the way it's supposed to, I realize that it's God transitioning me and elevating me to learn from that experience so I could be ready for the next level of success.
Indeed. You succeeded in determining that what you did didn't work out.
Yes.
Right? But we could ask any other number of your beautiful listeners what success is. Some will give the same answer you did. Others will say, I don't know. Others will say, it's family, it's money, it's a house, it's a car, it's my dream job, it's having a fit body, it's having the perfect wife or husband, or it's my kids, it's raising my pets, whatever it is, right? There's just such a variety of things that we identify as success, that there's no standard for success. And so when you tell someone you need to grow up and be successful, it's like, what's the standard for that? Yeah, exactly. So what I've learned is that, let me phrase it this way. Have you ever been in a car accident?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Did you walk away from that accident thinking, I'm such an accident?
No.
No, you didn't. Why? You were involved in an accident. Maybe you caused it. Maybe it was your contributed to it. Maybe you weren't paying attention. Maybe you were in a hurry. Maybe whatever the reason was, you were involved and engaged in an accident. An accident occurred. It's an event. But we don't walk away from that accident thinking, that's me. That's my identity. So why do we do that when we go for a job interview? Why do we do that when we accept the job and it doesn't work out and we get fired? Why do we do that when we try and write a book, or try to launch a company, or try to get that person, that man or woman, to go out with us and marry us and date us? Why do we consider ourselves failures when those events don't go the way that we anticipated, right? And so this is where I learned success and failure are nothing more than opposite sides of the same coin, which identify the outcome.
Yes, that is so true.
And identify the outcome of the events in your life. So I intended to come on this show on time, dressed, showered, clean, and everything, right? If something along the way happens to the car and I fail to make it on this show, well, my intention did not succeed. My intention was to get to the studio on time for this interview, but something interfered. My intention did not succeed. That doesn't make me a failure. It means that the event did not succeed. The event failed, right?
Yeah.
Now I can learn, like you've done, to use that failure as a teaching point, as a lesson, as a point of transition, as a point of transformation, as a point of knowing, okay, well, the next time I do this, I'm going to go down a different road. The next time I do this, I'm going to invite different people over for dinner. Next time I do this, I'm going to put the chicken in the oven at a lower temperature and not at 500 degrees, right? Whatever the case may be. So when you realize that you are neither a failure nor a success, oh my God, the possibilities open up, the world opens up, and the joy that you have for going out there and just adventuring and doing things and
It's true.
exploring. Yeah. And just let it go, let it fly. And if something doesn't work, that failed. Not me. I learned what doesn't work, and that's success.
Yes, that is so true. So that kind of leads me into my next question is like so many people chase the external validation. How can we define the success internally instead of the being trapped by the outside labels of comparisons?
Mm, another beautiful question. And the reason for that, Yvette, the reason for that awareness that you have is I blame Thomas Jefferson. We all know who Thomas Jefferson is. He's one of the authors of the Declaration of Independence. I blame him. Why? Because he says that we are all entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What he's telling us there, and I'm a man, I study words. That's one of the things I do as a lawyer and a songwriter and as a writer. Words are so impactful to me, and I just look, right? They're critical to
Yeah.
everything that we do. So when someone says you have to pursue happiness, when someone says you have to pursue love, pursue success, what does that tell you? It means we don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And how did I learn this? I told you my origin story as a kid wanting to commit suicide and all of these things. I also mentioned in passing that I was a singer-songwriter, recording artist. I learned as a kid, Yvette, that the one thing that I could do that brought joy and smiles to the faces of my family and teachers and everyone else was sing. I could sing like nobody's business.
Wow.
And so I learned, or I thought as a kid, that singing is how you get love in the world. And so I set my sights on becoming an international recording superstar like my idol back in the day, Julio Iglesias. And that's all I wanted to be growing up as a kid from the age of like 7 on to the age of 40. I pursued this career relentlessly.
Mm.
Why? It turns out, and I'll make this very short, it turns out that what I was looking for was the respect, admiration, what I thought was love from the external, from the audience, when they'd say, yay, and they'd
Right.
cheer and they clap and they go, woo, woo, more, more, more. I was elated. I was on cloud nine. I'm somebody. Yay, me. But when the applause died down, Yvette, I was back in despair.
Yep.
I was back in who am I? What am I? What's my purpose? The phone's not ringing. My agent's not calling. The opportunities, the offers are not coming in. I'm no longer relevant. My songs aren't being played on the radio. My CD's not being purchased, right? It was so tied to my identity that I was a singer. But the reason that I wanted to be a singer was not because I wanted to be an international superstar. In fact, I hated it. I hated the lack of privacy. I hated the inability to go to a favorite restaurant and just sit and have a meal without people, saying, can I have your autograph? Or would you, as a lawyer, they would say, hey, you're entertainment lawyer, and here, will you give this script to Steven Spielberg or deliver my demo tape to Sony Records and those kinds of things? I hated that.
Mm.
And it wasn't until I learned that what I was looking for, and to answer your question, what I was looking for was love externally, because I didn't know that I had it inside of me. And it wasn't until 2008 when I attended a success conference in Las Vegas where the speaker said, if you're looking for love, self-esteem, security, all these things, if you're looking for it, it means you don't have it. And if you don't have it, and here it comes the big question, Yvette, if you don't have love, how can you give any love away?
That is so true.
Oh my goodness. But it hit me in an instant. I don't know if you've ever been hit by a bolt of lightning, but But I felt like I was hit by a bolt of lightning that moment, that very moment. It had just all became clear. Everything I'd been seeking up until that point was all based on a false premise, a false narrative that if I do this, I'll get love. I'll feel
Yeah.
loved. I'll be loved. But no, the truth is, I have to love myself first before I can expect you to love me, or
Yes.
before I can expect the audience to love me, right? And if
Yes.
and it goes back to the need and expectation that we talked about before. If I love myself, I don't need my wife or anybody else to say I'm awesome, because I
Yes.
know I'm awesome. And
Yes.
if I'm awesome and I know I'm awesome without being braggadocious and walking around saying, "Hey, I'm awesome," and you're not, right? It's not about that. It's just about being awesome and being in joy and being in your element and being in your in your moment in every moment,
Yes.
right? You know what I'm saying, because that feeling just was up in you that I've
Yes.
got this, right? I own this. This is me, and this is great, regardless of who knows about it or who says anything, right?
Yes. And you know what's so crazy is a lot of times people be held in captive from things that people have said to them when they were younger or during adulthood or just even a person who they in a relationship or their children. It just becomes so many things, and then we start to wear all of those words. And
Hmm.
when we wear all of those words, that's when we often get labeled by our mistakes, our past, and even our titles. So, like, how can someone reclaim their identity and rewrite how they see themselves?
God, I love your questions. This is awesome, awesome, awesome. All we got to do, Yvette, is stop and yell, "Cut!" Just like the director in a movie. And this is the premise of my upcoming book that's going to be released here in about 30 days before Mother's Day. It's called Unshackled, and it's for the woman who's ready to yell cut and write and direct her own life. Because as you just pointed out, we've been programmed since before
Yes.
we were born, all these ideas about what it is to be in the world, what the world means. We've been
Hmm.
programmed how to react and how to respond to conflict, to, if we watched or while we were still in the womb, if our parents were fighting and being violent and aggressive to each other, guess what? That's how we learn to navigate relationships. So when conflict arises, the man goes off and hits the girl goes off and hits the man. We yell and scream and shout and throw things, not because that's who we really are, but based on what we learned.
Yeah.
That is all learned behavior, right? And so we've been programmed since before we were born. And unless we become aware that we've been programmed by someone else, parents, teachers, siblings, television, social media, we're being programmed all the time. Unless we become aware of this, we cannot then take charge and yell cut. We just simply live the role, we play the role, we act in the role that someone else has assigned us to. Oh, you're just a Black woman. You're going to be a secretary for the rest of your life. Okay, I'm a secretary for the rest of my life. You're a Hispanic dude. You're going to go out and be a construction worker and work in the kitchen in restaurants. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
Hispanic. So that means I'll never be a lawyer, never be a police officer, no, never be a superstar singer songwriter. No, we need to learn that all of that programming is just that, programming, and we can change it. How?
Yes.
By recognizing that we are much more than the actor in somebody else's story. In order to become the actor in our story, we need to do what the director does when they're filming a James Bond or a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie or Shrek, whatever it is, movie you like. If the scene is not going in accordance with the director's vision, they stop and yell cut, and then they call the actors over. They call this person over, the caterer, the costume people, and the writer, and they say, this needs to be changed. This needs to change. You're fired. You're out and you're in, right? You make these changes, and we can do that in our lives. It takes some training. It takes some knowledge. It takes some guidance. But the basic premise, Yvette, is that we can do it anytime. So if you're at work and your boss is mishandling you, manhandling you, or abusing you, or of your time, taking advantage of you. If it's a coworker, if you've complained and nobody's doing anything about it, it's really up to you to yell cut and say, no more. This, I don't need this job. There's other jobs out there. I don't need this violence in my relationship. There's other relationships out there. I don't need this food that keeps dragging me down. I don't need this alcohol. I don't need this cigarette or whatever it is that's impacting you in a negative way, right? If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, just yell cut on whatever that thing is and learn to rewrite it, become the producer and become the director so that you can supervise here going forward how this story is going to end. You just say, it's not going to end this way. It might be this way now. I might have allowed myself to get into this situation. Maybe it's not my fault, and it's not your fault. I'm telling you, it's not your fault. It's your programming. You've been programmed. But now that you know, after you listen to this episode, oh boy, if you continue to do and on that path that you're on that doesn't serve you, well, that's on you. Yes. But if you want to learn how to get out of it, contact Yvette. She'll let you know.
That is so true. You know what's so crazy, Steve? I literally recorded a podcast before our interview, and I was letting people know of how to walk in their own purpose instead of being led by other people that they see on social media. And it's so funny that you were saying, like, just as far as being a filmmaker and actor and actress. And I actually told them on this episode, they are walking around being actors and actresses like they're in Hollywood.
Exactly.
Because I don't think people really realize it because they have normalized it so much. And if we really look at a lot of people, a lot of them are so programmed, they all are alike in so many ways. It's like a bunch of robots and they're just trying to find their way. And then you have another percentage of people, maybe even 20%, that's actually walking in their path and their purpose and know who they are and the direction they need to go in for them to actually truly grow and live in a purpose and be themselves. And it's so difficult for people to do that. And my question to you is, what are top 3 scripts that people need to rewrite in their lives to create peace, fulfillment, and actually real happiness?
Another great question. The top 3 scripts that people need to rewrite, I'm going to say, Yvette, that they differ. They really differ. And here's why. There's, I think it's 8 billion people on the planet. While the scripts are similar, everyone is on their own journey.
Yes.
And so I hesitate to say these are the top 3 scripts that you should change because it may not be the same for you. And then I don't want you to say, Steve doesn't know what he's talking about. Right.
Right.
So it really depends. But what I want to encourage everyone to do is look at their lives and see what's working and what's not working, what's satisfactory and what isn't satisfactory. If you are constantly waking up in the morning and thinking, I don't have enough money. I wish I could find a better job, but who's going to hire me? I'm Black, I'm Latino, I'm too tall, I'm too skinny, I'm too heavy. I only have one leg, I only have one arm, I only have one eye. I speak with an accent. I don't have an undergraduate degree. I don't have a master's degree. I don't have a law degree, right? All of these things that we don't have. If you constantly ask yourself or say to yourself, I don't have these things, then you're looking at a script of, I'm not deserving. Because yeah, I want that job, but I don't have, right? You're telling yourself, I don't deserve it. Go for it anyway, right? Just like I did. I could have stopped at the door of the law school where it says you need a bachelor's degree. I had an associate's degree. I didn't want to go get a bachelor's degree. I didn't want to wait another 2 years. So I said, let me see what I can do. So I went in and I impressed the heck out of the board and submitted my past credentials and said, I have all of the training and education and experience that would make me an outstanding lawyer. And so the fact that I didn't do another 2 years in undergrad school is irrelevant, because
Yeah.
all I would have done is check into class, took a test, big deal. How does that make me a better lawyer, right? Or talking to the president, or doing any number of other things that I did. Once we get into a role, I know that one of the scripts is, I'm not deserving of this because, and so we have this imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
I don't deserve to have a day named after me. Says who, right?
Yeah.
I don't deserve to run my own company. I don't deserve the promotion. One day they're going to see I'm a fake. One day they're going to see that, I don't have the education, that others are better qualified than me, better suited. And so they're going to find me out. And so it prevents you from being your best self in that particular role. Or being married, right? Look at, for example, Meghan Markle. She married into the royal family, yet she was just an ordinary princess, right? Like the rest of the world. She was an actor. And I don't know how she met Prince Harry, or how that came about. But I'm sure that at the very beginning, if not to this day, she doesn't think, wow, do I deserve this? I mean, look at all
Yeah.
this, right? I'm just a normal kid, right? A normal girl. And here I am married to a prince,
That's true.
known globally around the world. And all of a sudden, she thought she was popular as an actor. Oh my goodness. Now the whole world knows her and is into her life and those kinds of things. So I'm sure that, people like that also deal with the imposter syndrome. And then the other thing is your relationships. If you're in a relationship that is not serving you, let's say that there's violence and aggression,
Yeah.
you're not being allowed to pursue education, you're not being allowed to have friends, or to do your own thing, to go out and pursue the business, or the career that you want, the job that you have, or do the travel or adventure. You're saying to yourself, the other script is, I'm not worthy of anything different than what I have now. And if you feel that way, if you feel unworthy, undeserving, and as an imposter, you're going to really limit the life that you can build for yourself, right? And I know, Yvette, you've gone through many, many challenges, right? You've had health challenges, and you could have succumbed to that. You could have said, I have this, and this is what I can't go beyond this disease or this
Right.
illness that I have, right? But no, something inside you said, this is not me. It may be here now, but this is not me. It's not what I want. In other words, you learned to yell cut on that
Yes.
disease. You learned to yell cut on a whole bunch of stuff, just
That's
like I have. And so that's what I'm encouraging the audience, your audience, beautiful audience, to do, is become aware of what it is that you don't like in your life right now. Health, fitness, job, career, not enough money, too much violence and aggression in the relationship, not enough joy and happiness. And you can change it. Yeah, it's not going to be overnight necessarily, and it doesn't not have to be easy.
Yeah.
But if Yvette can do it, if I can do it, right?
Yes.
And we're just two normal human beings walking this planet,
Yeah.
finding our own way, just like you. And we came across information. That's what it is. We came across information. We didn't just say, that's bumper sticker wisdom. We dove deep, right, into the essence of, well, really? What does this mean? Is this really possible for me? And you'll learn that the answer is yes. Everything is possible for you.
Oh, yes, definitely. So, if you could leave our audience with one line to write on their first page of their new life script, what would it be?
First page of the new life script. Another beautiful question. What I would recommend is one of my favorite sayings. It's my favorite because I wrote it. Is perfection is not the absence of imperfection. Perfection is the absence of judgment.
That's true.
Let me say it again.
Yeah.
Perfection is not the absence of imperfection. because there will be imperfections. Perfection is the absence of judgment. And let's look at the simple, it's Easter weekend as we're recording this. And a lot of moms, a lot of people, a lot of families are exchanging Easter flowers.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at any flower, some you might consider perfect. Why? Because they're beautiful symmetry, balanced color, all of the petals, all of the leaves are perfectly aligned and formed, and nothing's out of place. Yet the flower right next to it might have a petal that's folded over in a weird way, or, petals might be missing, or, it's just a little askew. And let me ask you, is that flower any more beautiful than the one next to it? No.
No.
They're not. We don't look at flowers that way. Maybe, when you're picking flowers in a flower shop and you need these for a specific occasion for a photography shoot, and everything has to be so perfect for the photograph. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about just in everyday life. We are those flowers. We are those flowers, ladies and gentlemen. You are perfect just the way you are. When you release judgment, and it starts by releasing your judgment of others, because Yvette, you said this earlier. You said it's like talking to you is like a mirror of my experience in my life and what I've been through, right?
Yeah.
Whenever we meet someone else, they are mirroring us, and we are mirroring them. We're seeing ourselves in that other person. And sometimes we see things that we like, and that's why we say, "Oh, I like this person because they have this, that, or the other. They went to this school, or they live in this neighborhood, or they drive this car, or they like the same food I do, or they breathe and I breathe," right? We like this person. And if that person has characteristics that are foreign to us or unusual or twerky, is that whatever? Okay, I just made up a word. Look at that. Twerky. If they're twerky, not twerking, but if they're twerky, and we don't identify with that, we say, that person's a little bit different. Their accent, the way they talk, their, the foods they eat, right? All these things, all of a sudden we find through our judgment reasons to stay away and not align with that person, or see them as less than, or sometimes we see them as more than, right? A lot of us say, "Ooh, they're way better than me because of whatever," right? But the truth is, we are all those flowers in that field. Go to your arboretum this weekend if you can, if it's nice weather, and just stand there and look at the beautiful tulips and daffodils and all of the other spring flowers that are coming up, and just marvel in that, and just become aware. Stay in that essence that is us. You're looking at a field of other humans, is all you're doing.
Yes.
So when you release judgment, my gosh, you will experience heaven on earth.
Oh, definitely. So where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about stepping into the directive care of their lives?
Yeah, another favorite question, and thank you for asking that. Where can they connect with me? Before they even think about connecting with me, ladies and gentlemen, listening to this show, whether you're listening this weekend or whenever it comes out, or you're listening to this 5-10 years from now, what I'd like you to do is to find Yvette Lloyd and send her a message, phone her, whatever you need to do, show up at her door with a cupcake, and just thank her for producing this show, because it is through this show that you are learning, not just from me, but all of the other marvelous guests that she's had on before and that she's going to bring to you here forth. You're learning and you're getting new insight and new experiences and new stories to let you know that you're okay, that you're amazing, and that you can do some wonderful things, because that's what you were brought to this earth to do, is to do some wonderful things. So thank her for that. All right. And because Yvette's, and then you can also ask her, how do I get a hold of Steve? Because she'll know. We're connected now. But if Yvette is too busy fielding her messages and sending out thank you cards to all of you that are knocking on her door saying thank you, you can simply go to Facebook or Instagram at Stevie G Success. you can go to my website, steviegsuccess.com, and go to the resources page. I don't ask for your email or anything. You don't have to send me money. If you want to send chocolate chip cookies, that's cool. But I have audios on that resources page that you can listen to, much like the material that we've discussed today, that you can download and just listen for your own enjoyment and education and learning. And then if you want to connect further from there, let's do that. You can send me a message through my website, again, through Instagram and Facebook. And one of the other things I wanted to mention is when you reach out to Yvette and send her a thank you message, Yvette will get to choose two of you to receive a physical copy of my upcoming book, Unshackled, for women that are ready to yell cut and write and direct her life. She gets to choose two people. So you need to message her, connect with her, and she'll let me know who the two of you are, and I will send you an autographed copy of the book when it comes out.
All right. Cut.
Cut. That's right.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Life Her Podcast. I appreciate you all for listening and tuning in. Make sure you follow and subscribe on YouTube, and also listen to Life Her Podcast on all major audio platforms. Thank you. And thank you, Steve.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.